Why are you running and what issues are most important to you?
Hi, I am running because I have been a special ed teacher, a science teacher, an award-winning Wisconsin public school principal, and now I run a reading initiative called 95 Wisconsin, where we are making sure that students who are behind in reading are getting one-on-one instruction and then tutoring, and then also making sure that the teachers and school leaders are getting the support to teach phonics in the lower grades so students can learn how to read, write, and do math well enough to get a meaningful job, attend college, or master a trade. And the reason I'm running is because I don't know if everyone knows this who's listening, but only 3 out of 10 children in Wisconsin are career and college ready. They're only reading well enough. 3 out of 10. And so when I heard that the current superintendent lowered the standards back in the summer, um, I decided that I wanted to run to restore the high standards and ensure that our kids are getting the instruction that they need in reading, writing, and math, making sure our teachers are getting the support and resources they need, making sure we're partnering with our parents, and making sure that DPI is transparent, it's predictable, and innovative for our schools, parents, and community members.
Well, thanks for asking that question and for having me on. I'm running because I think that we need to reestablish a good relationship between the Department of Public Instruction and our school districts across the state, and also create a working relationship between the legislature and the DPI. Both of those relationships are not working right now. I've heard from school leaders across the entire state concerns about a rudderless Department of Public Instruction and big issues that we're not addressing as a state, whether it's school funding, whether it's recruiting teachers to join our workforce as so many districts face a teacher shortage, and also dealing with our achievement gaps that we see as a state in a really serious manner. Not just talking about this, but making sure that we get the important work done.
What do you want to see out of the state budget?
What I'd like to see out of the state budget is the legislature to address special education funding. This is something that has an effect on every single school district in the state. When I was a high school student in Stevens Point, the state funded about 62% of special education costs. Now it's down to about 29%. The difference is being made up by local school districts. It's taking money from local funds, it's taking money that's meant to go for all students, and instead diverting it to special education costs. I mean, these are essential services, but they're very expensive. If the state would go back and fund its share to back to like 60% or 2/3, it puts money back in the general funds for other school districts and reduces the over-reliance on property taxes and school referenda to keep our program strong.
I want to make sure that we are able to increase the special ed reimbursement and the transportation for rural areas reimbursement. I'm not sure on the exact percentage, but we do need to have an increase in both of those areas.
How would the potential elimination of the Department of Education impact the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction?
So the money that would go to the different titles, Title One and special ed would still come directly to this, would come to the department. I'm also hearing that because there'd be some less overhead from other like consultants in the federal government, there might be more money coming into the state. And so I'm fine as long as we are getting that funding still to support our schools.
Well, most of the decisions about how students learn and what students learn are made at the local level. They're made at local school districts, local school boards who approve the standards for their children, and through the Department of Public Instruction and our legislature. So most of the things that happen in our state are school-based, are state-based and school board-based decisions. But there are some really essential programs that are funded by the U.S. Department of Education and managed by that department that would have a real impact if those were to go away. It's Head Start programming for our earliest and some of our most vulnerable children, our earliest learners, title programs that the title funds are allocated based on a school district's free and reduced lunch status. And so cutting those programs would have a huge impact on both rural districts and some of our larger population centers. The U.S. Department of Education also oversees college financial aid and grant programs. You can't, just imagine how difficult it would be if we had 50 separate college loan processes state by state when students go to school across state lines. So these are valuable programs that are run by our State Department of Education, by the U.S. Department of Education, We need to make sure that we're careful if we're undoing any of those programs and the impact that they'd have on kids in Wisconsin.
What impact do you think endorsements have on this election and your candidacy?
Well, I've been endorsed by the Administrators Association, and I have the endorsement recommendation of the Teachers Union PAC. And I think that in this race, we should be looking at the people who are doing the work in schools and see what type of leadership they would like so that they're getting an effective partner from the Department of Public Instruction. It's unusual for educators to endorse somebody other than the incumbent. But I think what we're seeing here is that a lot of people that are working in our schools are concerned about the direction of the Department of Public Instruction, concerned about Wisconsin schools, and they're looking for a change in leadership. This shouldn't be a race that's determined by party politics. It should be determined by who's going to do the work to make sure that we have a Department of Public Instruction that is effectively partnering with our school districts so our school districts can give the absolute best to our kids.
So this is a nonpartisan race. I am not endorsed by any elected officials. I would like to be, I am the candidate for the kids. I want the support from families and from, teachers and anyone who wants to put our children first. And so that is my belief that it's best that we keep this as a nonpartisan race, and that the voters believe that we should put kids first and that our kids deserve better.